All right, what's going on, boys? Welcome into another UFC Fight Night main event video, courtesy of Pure Bets and Pure Sports, as you guys know. So this week we have Cyril Gane against Alexander Volkov. Quick disclaimer. Normally we dive really deep, I know, into the matchups. The videos are like a half an hour long. But I have to get the pre-race NASCAR video in for tomorrow's Cup Series race at Pocono, which is Saturday at 3 o'clock. And the only time that Coop could do with me is like quarter after midnight tonight. So we're going to go live, me and Coop, right here on the Pure Bets YouTube channel for about an hour, talking about the races. We have 2 Cup races this weekend, plus an Xfinity Series and a truck race. So him and I are going to go live in about 45 minutes for an hour, so you guys could come back. So the video is going to be a little shorter than we normally do, but that's all right. You know, we'll make it work. So last week we got the chicken with the Korean Zombie at plus money against Dan Ige. You love to see it. We talked about how we thought that it was a mismatch in pricing, and you know that was borne out in what we saw. It was complete domination from Zombie for the entire fight. So happy to get the chicken there. This is a tough matchup, man. I went back and forth on this fight all week, really. But last night, after the Keg live show that we did, which was a ton of fun, there was like 7 or 8 of us on. We had a really good time. But last night I did like 3 or 4 hours more of watching like every fight that I could find in the last 4 years from these two. And I came down on a side that I bet. So the odds opened up in this fight, initially in Vegas, about minus 110 on both sides. Now, Best Fight Odds has the opener at Alexander Volkov plus 115, Cyril Gane at minus 135. That's not entirely accurate because it opened up basically a coin flip in Vegas a couple months ago, or when the fight was announced, at least. So I thought that was semi-close to fair. But since then, we initially saw syndicate money come in on Cyril Gane, steam the price up to minus 185. Sharp money came in early, steamed Cyril Gane up to minus 185. Then another sharp syndicate came in, right? And they came in on Volkov at that point, and then the line slowly started moving down to about where we are now, which is anywhere from Gane minus 150 to minus 165, depending on where you shop, with the comeback on Alexander Volkov around plus 130, plus 135. You can get a plus 144 right now at FanDuel. So that's where we'll start. So experience-wise, it's not even close, right? Cyril Gane, since he came into the UFC, he was 5-0. Since then, he wins 3 fights. And because we are starving for heavyweight talent after the first 2 or 3 people in that division, the hype train exploded on this kid. And now he sits 8-0. But there is a massive difference in competition. Alexander Volkov has about 40 fights. He has more losses than Cyril Gane has fights total. I think he's 33-8. Gane has 8 fights. He's a pretty, from what I've seen, I watched 3 of his fights before he came into the UFC and the 3 since he joined the UFC. From what I've seen, he's a pretty well-rounded fighter. He's got power. He's a solid striker, likes to stay at range if he can. He's got decent footwork. His stamina seems to hold up. Had a 5-round fight with Rosenstruck, looked fresh in all those rounds. He's strong in the clinch, got a solid wrestling game. He's got some submission wins. So, I don't know, if he's a black belt in BJJ. He might be, but black belt's range. It really matters where you get that black belt from. Could he be a legitimate black belt? It's possible. Nevertheless, his submission game is strong enough that he's won a couple fights by submission and hasn't looked bad doing it, right? Alexander Volkov, also a solid fighter. He changed his body type a few fights back. He used to be basically a string bean. He was really skinny in the division. He's long, really tall. He realized that he was just getting outclassed when it came to getting thrown around that cage. So he puts on 35 pounds of muscle. He changes his body type, and he looks good, man. He's right around that 260 to 265 range, right at the edge of the division, but he looks solid at 260. He looks toned. Stamina hasn't been an issue since the move up in weight. So he's got less power in his hands than Cyril Gane. I think that's fair to say, but he's a far more technical striker than Cyril Gane. He's one of the most dynamic strikers, really, in the heavyweight division. If you put in Gane aside because he's got unhuman-like power in his hands, if you throw that aside, how many people right now in the heavyweight division are more technical a striker than Alexander Volkov? Probably not any. Dos Santos was good, technically. He's not with the promotion anymore. I would have said Alistair over him, right? He's probably the most technical kickboxer, range striker that the division has seen in a long time. He got up in age. Now he's back with glory. He's no longer with the promotion. You can make an argument that Stipe might be the most technical striker. If not Stipe, who would you throw in that slot? Not Rosenstruck. Rosenstruck's got, the touch of death. He's got power in his hands like Francis does, but he's not extremely technical. So there's an argument to be made that Alexander Volkov right now in the heavyweight division is the most technical heavyweight striker that we have currently on the roster. And he's exceptional at range naturally because of how big and how long he is. Since he moved up in weight, his clinch has gotten a lot better. Is it as good as Cyril Gane's? I'm not sure, but it's at least to the point where he'll be able to compete. He'll be able to compete in the clinch with Gane now that he's changed his body type. His takedown defense worries me a little bit. I'm not going to lie. Now, do I think that it's as bad as Curtis Blades made it look? 14 takedowns Blades had against Volkov in their fight. I don't think it's that bad. I think Blades is elite in terms of MMA wrestling, and his takedowns are incredible. So I think Volkov was on the wrong side of somebody is exceptional at what they do. But do I think that his takedown defense is as bad as Curtis Blades made it look? Not necessarily. No, I don't. I think that like I just said, I think he's a better range striker than Gane. And watching the Rosenstruck fight, we see how natural of a range striker that Gane wants to be, right? If it was up to him, that's his bread and butter. And I think he's outclassed right now from a technical standpoint. I think that Alexander Volkov is a better range striker than Cyril Gane is, for sure. It's Volkov's, I think, fourth fight in the last 12 months. And the majority of those fights in that span have been in the smaller cage. Where are we fighting tomorrow afternoon? We're fighting at the Apex on the UFC campus. It's going to be a smaller cage. So if I had to say that it would favor anybody, I suppose I would say it's going to favor Volkov, because Volkov will not be as patient as Jairzinho Rozenstruik was in Gane's last fight. He's going to push the pace, and he's going to make Cyril Gane fight him. It's not going to be 25 minutes of dancing around in a circle and picking up an easy win. That's not going to happen. He's going to have to fight tomorrow, Cyril Gane. So, it's tough to say who the small cage really favors, but I guess I'll go with the fact that Volkov has had almost every fight over the last 14 months in that smaller cage. So if he's at the very least familiar with that smaller cage, right? Now, if I was going to set the line, I understand that Cyril Gane right now is a fucking hype locomotive, okay? But let's be honest. Who has he beat? First of all, he's only fought 8 times in his entire life in professional MMA, okay? He comes into the UFC with he picks up 3 wins against absolute bums I've never heard of before in my life. And if I haven't heard of you, you're nobody, okay? Now, in August of 19, he beats Rafael Pessoa. I'm not impressed, okay? Then after that, he beats Dontel Mays. I don't think Dontel Mays is a legitimate prospect. Okay, you beat him. Now, when he was 5-0, he beats Tanner Boser. Now, I know that Tanner Boser just lost to Alir Latifi, but I kind of like Tanner Boser. I'm not going to lie. I don't think that he's a bad striker, okay? I think a lot higher of Tanner Boser than I did 2 years ago. So I'll give Cyril Gane some props for beating Tanner Boser. Then he beats Junior Dos Santos at UFC 256. That Junior Dos Santos is washed. It's not the version of JDS that we saw coming off The Ultimate Fighter in 2013 when he was on that show with Lesnar. He's not that guy anymore. He's not a contender. He's old. At one time, he was the best heavyweight boxer that the UFC probably has seen in a long time. But he's not that guy anymore. So I don't know how much respect you can give to him. Rozenstruik knocked out Junior Dos Santos. Is anybody impressed with Jairzinho Rozenstruik over the last 2 years? I'm not. He got us the chicken in his last fight against Augusto Sakai, but I'm not impressed with him. So if I'm not going to give Rozenstruik props for knocking JDS out, I can't give Cyril Gane. And then in his last fight, he beats Rozenstruik. With what I just said, there isn't much more to say, right? So this is by far Cyril Gane's toughest test. And he is finally fighting a guy that is probably more durable than him, is a better range striker than him, and at the very least, Alexander Volkov's cardio is going to be as good as Cyril Gane's tomorrow afternoon, right? At the very least. I mean, he's been tested in multiple 5-round wars. He's came out the other side every time looking great. So I don't think cardio is going to be an issue. And like I said, man, Volkov has a major advantage in the caliber of opponent faced. He's way more tested. We're talking about a guy that's got 40 pro MMA fights, beat Alistair Overeem, beat Walt Harris, lost to Blades, beats Greg Hardy. He beat the shit out of Derek Lewis. Now, if you go to his Wikipedia page, it's going to say that he lost that fight, right? Because Alexander Volkov beat him stupid for 5 rounds. But in the last 10 seconds of the fight, he got a little careless and he got caught. And Derek Lewis ends up picking the win up. Fair play to Derek Lewis. That's why he's the number 1 contender right now, and he's going to fight Francis Ngannou for the title. But let's call a spade a spade. He beat the shit out of the number 1 contender right now in the heavyweight division in the UFC for 25 minutes. Beat Fabricio Verdun. Beat Roy Nelson. He's just way more tested, in my opinion, if you go down the line of people that he's beaten. That there's a major advantage in the people that he's faced and the people that he's beat. He's seen it all. Cyril Gane hasn't seen shit. He's barely fought a real fighter yet, worth their salt in the UFC. So, like we talked about last week, it always comes down to the line. I told you guys last week that Zombie should have been a minus 180 favorite. Okay? Minimum. And what happens? He beats the shit out of Dan Ige and showed exactly why I thought that line was a complete joke. A misrepresentation of how the fight should play out. So if I was setting the line for the fight, I set Alexander Volkov as the favorite here. Forget, throw the hype out the window. Gane has done nothing in this sport yet. Similar to the Dominic Reyes Yuri Prochaska fight, that was a show me fight for Yuri. If he got through Dominic Reyes, who might have beat John Jones, it's debatable. Then I would have taken Yuri Prochaska seriously. Yuri came out and he put on a show, and now I think of him in a completely different light. This for me is very similar to that. If Cyril Gane goes out and beats Alexander Volkov, then I will think of him very differently tomorrow night than I do right now. But in my opinion, that line, that minus 160 tag on Gane is just absurd. I think that Volkov should be the favorite, personally. And at a coin flip, I would probably still be on Volkov if they were minus 110 on both sides. So the current price at plus 130 is a gift, in my opinion. Now, there are a couple things that worry me. I talked about one of them. The first thing is the takedowns. Like we said, Volkov was taken down 14 times against Curtis Blades. But this is how I ended up rationalizing it. Like I said to you guys, Blades is an elite level wrestler. He's world class when we're talking about MMA wrestling. I don't think that Gane has a Curtis Blades level of MMA wrestling. So he's going to have to show me that he can manhandle this version of Alexander Volkov in this current body frame before I just believe that he can do it. If he does it, so be it. Because when we're talking about the price, there comes a point when you make a bet that you feel that you've gotten such a good price that whatever happens, happens. At plus 130 on Volkov, when personally, if I was setting the line, he would probably be a minus 160 favorite. I would probably flip the line if I was setting the line personally. If Gane comes out and shows us incredible wrestling and takes Volkov down for 5 rounds, so be it. You eat the unit. It is what it is. The second thing that worries me are the leg kicks. I think that Alexander Volkov is the much better striker. And in my opinion, I really don't think that that's debatable. Okay. But the way to make a striker way less dangerous is to chop away at his lead leg. If a striker doesn't have their lead leg, then whatever advantage that they had in striking goes away quick. And if that happens, it makes it a way closer striking battle than I would like it to be. Okay? Now, short of those two things, because Gane loves the leg kick, loves it. It's one of the best things he does on his feet, if I'm being honest. So, short of him chopping down the lead leg of Alexander Volkov and him showing that he's got dominating wrestling, if he decides to take it there, short of those two things, I don't see how Alexander Volkov loses the fight. I really don't. Now, in terms of fight script and how we think that the fight's going to play out, if you have watched Gane, his default is to stay away from danger, range strike, and pick people apart from the outside. If it was up to him, that's why he didn't care what Dana White had to say after the 25 minutes that he went with Rosenstruck. He was like, the boss is unhappy. I'm here to win. So as far as Gane is concerned, if it's up to him, all he wants to do is stay at range, strike, and pick people apart from the outside. That is his default position. If shit gets real somewhere in the mix, it gets real. But if he had his way, tomorrow afternoon will go down exactly how the Rosenstruck fight went down. He'll stay on the outside for 5 rounds. He'll try to pick Volkov apart, and he'll win a decision. I think that he will try to do that for about 3 rounds. And then I think once round 4 comes, and he probably realized that Alexander Volkov's striking is legit, I think at some point in the fight, Ciryl Gane is going to start to think that he has to get the fight to the ground in order to win. And I think in round 4 and 5, he probably starts working for takedowns. Will he get the takedowns? Maybe. Maybe he'll get some. But Volkov has been pretty good at getting up, with the exception of the Curtis Blades fight. Actually, maybe even the Curtis Blades fight. It's hard to hold him down. If you get him down, he tends to work himself back up to his feet, right? So, in the end, I think that if you're going to bet a heavyweight fight to go to decision, which generally is dangerous because these guys are fucking animals, 6'5", 265 pounds. They throw absolute fucking hammers every minute of the fight. It's dangerous to bet a heavyweight fight to go to decision. But based on Ciryl Gane's default of how he likes to fight, and based on, we have seen Alexander Volkov have no problem standing for 5 rounds and picking people apart. Look at the Derek Lewis fight. There are probably 3 or 4 other examples while Volkov has been in the UFC that he's perfectly content to range strike and just pick you apart and break you down. So I think that there's an excellent chance that the fight goes to decision. I really do. Regardless of who wins the fight. I think if Gane wins the fight, it could go to the cards. If Volkov wins the fight, it can go to the cards. In my opinion, based on based on the implied probability, where the odds are right now and where I think the value lies, I think that the pick is Alexander Volkov at plus 130. But I love the price at FanDuel on Alexander Volkov by decision at plus 550. Right now, the line on him is plus 550 by decision and plus 144 to win the fight, which is better than 130. So, for the purposes of the video, I'm going to say the pick is a half unit on Alexander Volkov at plus 144 and a half unit on him by decision at plus 550. If he wins the fight inside the distance, you scrape a tiny bit of profit. If he wins the fight by decision, which is what I think is probably the most likely, you pick up about 3.5 units, somewhere around there, 3.5 units. So we'll go half unit on Volkov, money line plus 144, half unit on him by decision at plus 550. Now, Joey has 3 plays on the spreadsheet for UFC Fight Night. I have not put any plays on the spreadsheet because we have 4 NASCAR races, and I really wanted to just take a week off from grinding fight tape for 40 hours a week and focus on the 4 races that we have in NASCAR. But I watched enough tape to feel pretty comfortable about this play. So I'll probably throw this on the spreadsheet, probably like a half unit, exactly what I just said. I'll throw a half unit on Volkov money line at plus 144 and a half unit him by decision at plus 550. That'll be my only 2 plays, which equal 1 unit. So it's basically 1 play. As far as Rum Pure Bet subscribers, Joey's got 3 UFC plays for the guys on the spreadsheet already. Joey hit a play on the spreadsheet in PFL tonight. He's got 1/2 of a parlay home. So Joey is also doing his thing right now in the UFC, which you'll love to see it. And that's it, boys. The only other bet that I've personally made that I threw in our subscriber Discord was I bet Rachmaninoff and Charles Rosa parlay at plus 112. I like that play. I like it a lot. I think Rachmaninoff wins in a breeze, and I think Rosa should be closer to minus 240, not minus 175. So those are the only 2 plays that I've made in the UFC. In about 15 minutes, I'll be back. Me and Coop are going to chop it up for about an hour. I'm really excited about NASCAR. We have 2 cup races this weekend, 1 tomorrow, 1 Sunday. I'll be live on Sunday to the public like normal. Tomorrow, I'll just be live for subscribers for both NASCAR races and UFC Fight Night. So it should be fun. Joey and JJ will have MLB content this weekend. I don't think there'll be an NBA rundown because I'm starting the live show tomorrow early at 1 o'clock. So it's fun times here at Rum Pure Bets. Right now, the website is currently plus 74 units, up 14 units in the month of June. We're doing it. We're doing the damn thing hard. If you guys want to join, use the promo code BETS25 off. Get 25% off the first month, which would be, it's $60 a month. So $45 for your first month over at rumpuresports.com. And that's it. Good luck this weekend on your bets. Hope your action runs pure. And I will see you guys in about 15 minutes. Coop and I are going to chop it up, talk some NASCAR for about an hour. All right? See you soon.